Whew. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the pre-match, whatever you want to call it, press conference for Manchester United versus Tottenham away. I've literally just been in a rush trying to get back in time. I know the press conference is currently ongoing, and I've got it just at the side of me here. So we're going to go dive through the quotes, of course, together and what Ten Hag is saying. Apparently, there's been some significant updates. But before we get into them updates, and I'm going to talk about everything that Eric Ten Hag has said, there's some bits about Lisandro Martinez, there's some bits about Johnny Evans, and there's a few other bits that we'll talk about as well. But first and foremost, we have to discuss the club that is Manchester United, because I think these past 8, 9, 10 days, whatever you want to call it, have been a bit of a joke, to be honest with you, and that's putting it politely. We've seen everything, with Harry Maguire, which, in comparison to a lot of things I'm going to discuss, is an absolute minor to that. But we've seen at the minute the situation with Harry Maguire, in which his transfer has broken down. He wants this big payoff, like £7 to £8 million, which means United probably receive, I don't know, about 20 million or 15 million, let's say, because of amortization, etc., which isn't great. Then you get the situation. So we're going to have to keep Harry Maguire effectively for another season, which isn't great because obviously Eric Ten Hag wants to move him on. That's clear. Then you talk about the Mason Greenwood situation, which has just been handled appallingly, like awful. Kind of not announcing it and announcing it at the same time, just horrendous. The whole dragging it out. You talk about, I think it's been longer than the actual investigation in itself. So the way they've handled that's been terrible. It's still ongoing. We're still waiting for a final decision on that. I mean, bringing him back to the club, and we've spoken about it so many times. It's just like it's tarnishing our name as a club that we are. You've got kids who follow us and families all around the world who follow Manchester United. And it's a disgrace the way they've handled the Mason Greenwood situation. But not only that, as well, the takeover. The news that we've had about the takeover, I'll say, because it's effectively not going to happen, judging from the reports that are coming out. So apparently, Qatar are still waiting to hear about this bid. There are people who are close to Rain Group who are saying that it's looking like they're not going to sell the club now. When they announced that they was looking for strategic alternatives back in November, me and I'm sure a lot of other Manchester United fans were absolutely ecstatic about that news. Like 18 years of mistreatment finally coming to an end. People were ready to celebrate, and little did we know what was ahead, what was in the future. You talk about the next, 9 months since he announced that? Someone's had a baby in that time. That's how long it's been. We've had numerous rounds of bidding back and forth. So Jim's winning, Qatar's winning. It's not happening. It will happen. It's been back and forth for ages, hasn't it? Then we hit June. So Sheikh Jassim's final bid went in early June, end of May. That's the timestamp that we're looking at, right? It's now the 18th of August. There's still been no significant movement on it. And now apparently the Glazers are looking towards, leaning to stay. Now, a few things about this. The stadium in itself, obviously, is desperate for investment. Like, it's so obvious, which is why they needed to sell. So first and foremost, where are you going to get the money from that now? Are you just going to keep Old Trafford leaking? Are you going to keep the issues that are currently at the stadium? They don't care. And look, I'm all for protest. I think protest, they need to happen. You need to make a voice. And what we did with the Liverpool game when we was on the pitch and stuff, it worked. You got a game called off. But in reality, in the grand scheme of things, do they really care? Are they really bothered about it, the Glazers? They're not. It doesn't affect them in the slightest. They will continue to move. You've seen the way, even with this Greenwood situation, they don't want their name tied to that. They're just like, yeah, Richard Arnold, you deal with it, mate. The takeover, just like Rain Group, you deal with it. We don't care. Just get us our price. That's all we're asked about. Just get us our price. The price hasn't been met. Now the Glazers are looking at the current landscape of football, and they're looking at the Saudi investment that's going into football, which could potentially benefit them. Now people will say, well, how is a lot of money in Saudi Arabia going to affect the Glazers? Listen, it's networking. It's there could be a potential another offer coming in from Saudi Arabia for the actual club itself, let's say. Transfer of players. There's loads of avenues you can go down, which it'll basically benefit them. You've got the new Champions League format as well, which will potentially increase revenue and obviously have more chance of European football. You've got so many things that they're looking at and are like, listen, we could just stay if we wanted to. We could just stay for another year and then get the price tag that we want. So unless you pay that £6 billion that we want, which they've probably upped now, to be honest, we ain't moving. So all this thing that's coming out now about like Sheikh Jassim still hasn't heard anything. The Glazers are now thinking about staying and blah, blah, blah. It's obviously they're basically just putting out there saying we haven't got the price that we met, so we're going to stay. And it's another thing that's dragging on. This is like multiple things that's dragging on. Fans get frustrated when transfers are dragging on, right? But when you talk about things like this Greenwood thing, you can't have a situation like that where you're just dragging the fans through the mud constantly. And you've got the women at the World Cup who were just about to play the biggest game of their career, and they're getting Instagram messages off Greenwood fans who are basically saying like, you better let him back and you better do this and blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous that it's even got to this point. And this is definitely based on the fact of his talent. I'm 100% sure of that. If this was a youth player in the setup, if this was reserves, if this was someone, I don't know, I don't want to name someone because I don't want to tie them with that brush. But if this was just a regular player who was probably going to move to QPR or go to, you know, the French Liga 2 or something, they would already be gone by now. And I also think they've, like Richard Arnold, I feel like he's handled this terribly, but I also feel sorry for him at the same time because I feel like he's probably gone up to the Glazers and said, look, Mason Greenwood, what are we doing with this situation? And they've gone, well, what are the options? And he's probably said, you know, either you can terminate his contract and get rid of him. And they're like, well, how much does that cost? And they say, probably about £6.7 million. And they go, nah, you're not doing that. What's the other option? Well, we try reintegrating back into the squad, but it's not going to be a very good look on the team. It's going to be a PR disaster. And it's going to affect the players, coach, managers, fans. That's the other option. Well, that's not going to cost us anything, is it? Well, not as much as I think terminate his contract would do. Yeah, do that then. Like, they're not, and they don't even want the names tied to it. So ultimately, they're decision makers. Don't forget, they're at the very top of the tree at Manchester United. They make the core decisions. So let's not pretend that it's Richard Arnold who's doing it. He's going off what they're saying, basically. Can I terminate his contract? Yes or no? Okay, well, I'll have to go down this route. How am I going to do it? Record a video. Apparently, he recorded a video, which was explaining why they're bringing him back in. And apparently, they have this kind of cause to commitment because he's been at the club since he's 7 years old. What about the cause to commitment to fans around the world who idolise this club and are having their name tied with this? This club is a joke, man. It really is a joke. This badge here, it just seems it's losing its credibility by the day. The more the Glazers are in charge, like, it's outrageous. But anyway, we're here for the press conference reaction. Sorry, so I'll dive into that. I do appreciate. That's what we're here for. But just the news that's coming out with Manchester United in a minute. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's so fucking deflating, man. Honestly, it's so deflating. It's almost embarrassing to be a supporter of the club, seeing that the way we run. Because I know for a fact, if the other team from Manchester was doing this, we would be absolutely drilling them for it. We would say, look how horrendous that is. They're bringing back a rapist into the club. Look at that. Look how long they dragged the takeover for. 9-10 months. Without giving a single shit to the fans who were involved. Look with transfers, like, it's just messy. It's just messy. And a club like Manchester United, it's one of the biggest clubs on the planet. And it's ran like a League Two club, with all due respect. It's absolutely horrendous. Really, really is. But let's dive into the press conference anyway, and let's have a look what Erik ten Hag's saying. Let's have a look. Big up to everyone in the chat, by the way. I appreciate every single one of you tuning in. Sorry, I've just been getting a rant, getting off my chest because, yeah, like Jar Malmin says there. Afternoon to Brian. Your place in the Cosmos, Charlie Malmin. I'll read out all your comments shortly. I'm just listening to this reaction. So they've asked about Harry Maguire not joining West Ham. And from that perspective, and Ten Hag says, the process he doesn't know. He's going to say Harry's an important player. It's going to be a political answer. We need a good squad. Harry's an important player. But behind the scenes, we know he wants him gone. We know that. He asked. It's like, you know, he's lying. I don't blame him for doing it because you're not going to give the media them clicks that they crave. But you just know he's lying, don't you? Very happy Harry Maguire's here. He's got to fight for his position. What opportunities and game time can he expect? And it's up to him. Just a very, very straightforward answer. Can you expand? He's like, okay, now. If I was Ten Hag as well, I'd be losing me fucking mind. Everything that's going on with this club at the minute, I'd be losing my shit. But then apparently he's a fan of reintegrating Mason Greenwood back into the squad. So you're like, I love Eric Ten Hag, but I do not back him on that decision. I'm waiting for the inevitable question on Mason Greenwood. They're asking him now, are you not looking into now bringing another centre-half because Maguire's staying? Our squad's covered. All the positions are covered. But Manchester United, we're always looking for improvement. If there's an opportunity, we'll strike within the next 2 weeks. We've not seen the new evidence, I guess. Does it even exist? I'll touch on that, Gray. I'll touch on that. Stupid. Yeah, I'll touch on the news bits after. This isn't just going to be a press conference reaction. Trust me, I've only half got off my chest what I think about the Glazers and Manchester United. We'll dive into that together. So keep getting your comments in. Leave a like on the video for us if you can. Subscribe to the channel. Let me just bring that down a second. A bit bright that. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're excited for the Spurs game, we have got a preview later at 7 o'clock. So make sure you don't miss that. It's got an actual Spurs fan on who we're going to talk to, which will be interesting. So asking about Lisandro Martinez, don't be fucking... Yeah, he's available. Oh, praise the Lord. Lisandro Martinez is available. Asking about the market again. We're always looking for opportunities. We've got a good squad. Political answer, political answer, political answer. Oh, Greenwood. We're asking about Greenwood, ownership situation, hanging over you. Greenwood hanging over you. How much does that affect you and the players? Does it something to concern you? And he's saying no. It must do. Come on, Eric. I know you won't get that answer in the press conference, but it must do. I get why he says that. He's not going to give him the clicks, but it's just... Asking about women's team. How you feel about those women being out there and what your message to them? Great Dutch manager. I think he was... I don't know if he was expecting a certain like message or answer about the women's team there so they could put it into an article. Johnny Evans. They're asking about Johnny Evans. They're in talks. When we have news, we'll bring it, as always. Is he under contract at the moment? In this moment, no. Tanag wants him to stay. And that is it. That's the press conference, basically. So asked about Lisandro Martinez. Lisandro is fit, so that's the thumbs up. Got asked about Johnny Evans. Apparently they talk, so maybe he'll bring him in. I don't know. Maybe that will revive interest in Harry Maguire. No idea. They asked him about the takeover Greenwood situation. If that's kind of distracting him from his job, he's saying no. I'm focused on Tottenham, which he's always going to say. But look, if you're a manager, anyone who's in this chat right now will know. If you're a manager of the club, especially a club like Manchester United, and you've got all these things that are going on around the club with Mason Greenwood, the takeover, transfers, certain transfers not going through, etc., the whole PR nightmare around the club, you're telling me that's not going to affect you? Of course it is. When Eric Ten Hag got the job last year, if you would have told him what he would have had to deal with, he may have even just looked at it and thought, I don't know if I can, I'm not sure. Ronaldo with Piers Morgan yesterday and the whole drama situation that was involved around that. Plus, the Greenwood thing was still technically ongoing at that point, constantly being asked about it. Then the Glazers announced that they're strategically looking for alternative, they're looking for you know what I mean, what I'm going to say. I can't fucking say it. I'm not annoyed. In November. So that's ongoing for 9 months. It's just like, how do you expect a manager to really, really be successful when he's effectively dancing on a moving carpet? Do you know what I mean? He's dealing with so many things at the same time, and then just with the media as well involved in it. And it's a joke, to be honest. Like I said at the start of the video before we even reviewed the press conference, how much of a joke Manchester United are turning into. And I want to reinstate that because let me just read out some comments and then I'll dive into it. Brian saying Martinez to face Spurs, happy days. Your place in the Cosmos says yes, win, positive thoughts, and yes, we need to if we're going to improve and show a legit challenge to all other sides. Yes, Nick, big up to your place in the Cosmos, legend. Charlie Malman says no way the Glazers will stay. It won't be long before the stadium investigators will shut down. Old Trafford's a mess. It's a mess. For anyone who's ever been, or anyone who hasn't been, because I appreciate some international fans as well, right? It is a mess. Honestly, there's leaks, there's rust everywhere. The urinals have been blocked up before. The connection's terrible. Like the match day experience is only great because of the crowd and the fans who make it that good. But even down to things like food and beer and things like that. Look, this absolutely kills me to say this, right? It kills me to say it. I went and watched some a band at the Etihad, right? The food, beverages, everything there, miles better. Not. I'm not talking about the experience and the fans and stuff like that, but the food, hospitality, it's better. It's just better. And what they're doing around that stadium as well for the rest of the community and things. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people wanted Qatar in. Let's be honest, because they're going to invest in the area around the stadium. They're going to invest in the stadium, the women's team, the men's team. I saw a report before that if Qatar would have come in, or if Sheikh Jassim would have come in this summer, we would have had an extra £70 million to spend. Pavard, Amrabat, Gravenberch, potentially, at a push. That's an extra 3 players, 25, 23. And then Amrabat, maybe at an absolute push. That's an extra 3 players, which would have been critical to this season. Critical to this season. Now, it's like no one knows at all if we're actually going to be sold. You're running out of words. You really are running out of words. And I touched before on the protest. The protests are fantastic. We've been to so many of them. We've always supported it as a channel, individually, whatever. But in reality, the Glazers don't care. They really don't give a shit. So even if we protest every single day for the next 2 years, they would still sit in their office ringing up about the financial figures. Are we in the Champions League? Yeah, sound. More money for us. Has the offer hit £6 billion yet? No. Oh well, we'll just stay in charge then. We've got Saudi. This financial growth of Saudi Arabia, who are apparently offering exhibition matches. So all this thing that was being pushed about the Super League, which is obviously all the greedy twats who were owners of clubs wanted it because it was more money in their pockets, but didn't give a shit about the fans. All this money with that, and you got the Saudi Arabia thing where it's like, well, we'll put on matches, finals in Saudi Arabia. We'll offer hundreds of millions of pounds. The Glazers just looking at the landscape and are like, actually, what we could really do is just fuck the stadium off for another year or another 18 months. Just promise plans and promise we're going to do this and say we're still looking for an investment. And what we'll do is we'll wait for this landscape to slowly move with Saudi Arabia, the new Champions League format as well, which is going to line our pockets, take more dividends out. And, you know, the club are technically on like an upwards trajectory. They're back in the Champions League, so revenue streams will be back up. And we'll just keep it how it is in a minute. So I've lost all faith in United selling. And I said this probably, go back on the channel and look, 3-4 weeks ago, I said, I think they're going to stay now. I really, really do. Because Qatar put in their final bid June. Sheikh Jassim put his final bid in June. Hadn't heard anything since. He's not going to put in another bid. So Jim Ratcliffe is legal issues with certain things. It's obviously messy there, right? Which they're trying to work through. You've got 6 siblings who are trying to decide on one price, who have been described as a family of billionaires who would kill each other for a penny on the floor. So they're squabbling amongst each other. United fans, again, take the brunt of this. We're all sat here having to deal with it, having to discuss it every single day and worry and wonder why our club, a stature of Manchester United, are being run, let's be honest, like a fucking Sunday League team. It really, really is. Ronnie Wilson says, what about the possibility of taking Lukaku back on loan as a backup striker? Slightly off topic. I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. But then, I don't know, the situation with Juventus and Inter fans and Chelsea is very toxic at the minute. I don't know if they bring him back. But you also lead into a point about Greenwood as well, because I think the fact that Manchester United don't have a number 9, I know we brought Rasmus Højlund in, but you can't expect him to be the number 9 all season. He's a 20-year-old kid who scored 9 goals for Atalanta. He's very talented, but he needs time to develop. I think the situation with that plays into the Greenwood thing. I think the fact that, you know, the money situation, they have to pay him off 6.7 million. And I think just the status he's got at the club, I think that's the reason why they're bringing him back. Like I said, if this was a centre mid who's been on loan at QPR, barely got any first team games, was on, I don't know, a 10 grand a week contract, do you think they wouldn't have already fucked him off by now? Or honestly, ask that question. They obviously would have, wouldn't they? Like, so it tells you everything you need to know. Priority at Manchester United and the Glazers is money. That is above everything. Absolutely everything. It's a joke. It's a joke. Scoreboard says, when I first went to Old Trafford, early 70s, the stands had bars to buy beer in and lots of streams of piss, so always been a toilet problems. Well, yeah, it's consistent. To be honest with you, there's been barely, since the Glazers took over in 2005, there's been a few licks of paint on the stadium. That's it, really. I mean, you could talk about J Stand and you could talk about certain expansions, and apparently they're looking into it now in the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. There's a new director's kind of suite in there and stuff. But he needs more than that. He needs, you know, redeveloping or a brand new stadium. I don't want to hear, like, we're putting plasters over everything, aren't we? Plaster FC. Manchester United. It's a joke. Just a reminder for you guys who are in the chat, we have got the Spurs preview coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. We have got a Spurs fan on, so we'll be picking his brain about the new manager, the Harry Kane situation, and how he feels going into this game. Is he confident or not? Of course, we'll be talking about Manchester United as well, and other little bits of news. We had a little bit of news on Rafael Varane. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that coming out from Saudi Arabia. Apparently, is either Al Hilal or Al Ital, I think it is. Who would like to sign him. I think Marquinhos is the first choice, who's obviously at PSG. And if you can't get him, they want to get Rafael Varane. He isn't interested. But yeah, that was just a little bit of news that was coming out before. Obviously, the last thing we want to sell Maguire. Why aren't they interested in Maguire? We don't want to sell Varane. We want to keep Varane. Varane and Lisandro Martinez together are mustard, mate. We don't want to sell them. You know, look at Harry Maguire. And do you know what? I genuinely mean this. And I'm not talking shit. I'm not just trying to make a joke out of it or get a clip. I think he would be one of, if not the best centre-back in that league, Harry Maguire, if he went. Name a better centre-back. Unless I've missed a big signing that's gone there. Name a better centre-back in that Saudi league than Harry Maguire. I know Koulibaly's gone over there, but he was horrendous for Chelsea, wasn't he? Maybe you can throw Koulibaly into the conversation. So why are they not? I've said this so many times. Why have we not got an offer? Just make it like, look at Henderson. Right, Henderson and Fabinho. It's time for them to go at Liverpool, right? Saudi come in, they offer them huge wages to Henderson. They offer a £40 million fee for Fabinho, who's dropped off the face of the earth, effectively. Why can you stop? Just buy Maguire, like, please, so we can reinvest it. Go get a Pavard, go get a Todibo. I honestly, I feel lost with this club at the minute. I really, really do. I feel, I look at, how big of a fan base we have. You look at kids that are going to games, and when they're sat in a stadium, and we've brought a player back like Mason Greenwood, and they're like, "Dad, what I buy a Mason Greenwood shirt?" What do you say to your kids? Like, "Oh, you can't have one," and he's like, "Why?" Like, "Oh, because he's been naughty." And you're like, "What do you mean he's been naughty?" And it's just like kids are gonna look up to that and think, right, he's done that. Or teenagers or whatever. Let's say you've got an 18-year-old kid who's a massive Manchester United fan. He loved Greenwood as a player, seen all this shit go on, and then they bring him back. People will think that's acceptable to behave like that. What standards and what lessons are you teaching to fans, kids, teenagers around the world of bringing someone back like Mason Greenwood? It really scares me, honestly. And someone mentioned before about the what was it? The evidence that hadn't come to light, right? That some people haven't seen. What is that evidence? Because you can't make a statement like that and then not tell us and not put it out there. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand. I don't understand Manchester United. I really, really don't. I don't know what the opposite is to the gift that keeps giving, but ironically, sarcastically, I should have said, they are the gift that keeps giving because they're just spouting out shit constantly every single day. Just when you think they can't get any worse, they go and drop something else, and you think absolute twats. Just as well, FPL review will live at 3 p.m. And then I mentioned Spurs preview before at 7. Me and Shreyas went through game week 1, spoken about the games individually, spoke about players individually, the live from the channel, the top 4, donkey of the week, etc. So make sure you tune in for that because it's a really, really good edit and it's a really, really good show. So yeah, appreciate every single one who's tuning in for us. Just a quick recap before I go. Lisandro Martinez is available for the Spurs game, which is hallelujah because I don't want to see Maguire stepping into there, although it would probably be Lindelof. Johnny Evans potentially signing for Manchester United. They're in talks, so there could be a 1-year deal being offered there to him. Eric Ten Hag got offered about Greenwood to take over, and is it affecting him? He basically said no, it's not. It's not thingy him. Got asked about the Women's World Cup, and he said he's supporting it. There's a Dutch manager there who's doing a really good job. And that's basically it for the press conference reaction. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I was rushing back in traffic, trying to get things sorted. But yeah, I just literally rushed on. You'll see from the start of the show. It's just like mind was everywhere. Just reading stuff about Manchester United. So yeah, I'll see you guys later on. 7 o'clock. Keep an eye out for the FPL review as well at 3. Very, very fun show that we worked hard on. So please do check that out. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and we'll see you guys in a few hours, literally. Take care. Thank you. Peace.